Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. We're in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 today, and I want to stay around a few verses today, mainly verses 3 through 5. Paul begins in verse 3 by saying, we may be in the flesh right now, in these sinful bodies, but we're not warring against other people. We're not warring against the flesh. You've heard it said in other places, I'm sure, that Paul's saying we fight against powers and principalities over this present darkness, these evil spirits, the enemy, Satan and his demons. That's the enemy that we're fighting against. And he's saying, we're not fighting against the flesh. And this is a part of a larger chapter of Paul defending his ministry. And he's saying, I have this authority. A lot of people have been talking and questioning Paul's authority and talking down and saying, he's not a big presence in real life, and his letters are so bold, thinking that he's fake and a fraud, and there's so much gossip going around. And it's part of that wider letter of Paul defending, saying, the New Testament isn't over, where the scriptures being written, and I've been given the stamp of approval by God to preach the gospel and to teach you things. So it doesn't matter what I look like necessarily, or what my charisma or presence is. He says, I've been given this approval by God. And he's saying, and I'm taking you the gospel in hopes that you will not be worrying about what you're worrying about, but you will take that and go further with it also. But he says in verse 3, for though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. And I don't know about you, but I've let in my life strongholds grow in my heart. The devil has planted strongholds. We don't want to give the devil a foothold, because a foothold turns into a stronghold. When we go to sin, when we allow sin in our hearts, or when we sin, we open our hearts to Satan. And it sounds scary, and it should be scary. We should be afraid of this, because when we go to sin, the wages of sin is death. We're giving Satan a foothold in our life. And when we allow sin, we're giving the devil a foothold. And also, if you've been sinned against, and from unforgiveness turns to evil thoughts, those evil thoughts turn to bitterness, then you're giving Satan a foothold in your life, because the devil, the individual spirits that are around you, they know you. They have been around you and watched you for a long time, and they know what gets you. They know how you tick. They know how to tempt you in the right way. And the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, just trying to find someone to devour. So that's why it's very important. Verse 5, it says, we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. So when you're hurt, when someone's hurt you, and you feel that unforgiveness turning to bitterness, turning to sin, giving the devil a foothold in your life, making darkness out of your life, then you need to look here and say, every thought needs to be taken as captive. Every thought that you have, you should take as captive and put it under submission to God. So if it's unforgiveness, you need to allow God into that part of your life. You need to submit that part of your life to God. We need to work constantly submitting every single part of our life to God. If you're going throughout your day and you you are tempted to lust at a man or a woman, to look at them or to lust towards them, you say, God, what is unfulfilled in my heart? I submit this part of my life to you. Flood that with your grace. If you're tempted to steal, or if you're in school and you are tempted to cheat on a test or in your homework, then you say, God, what part of my life do you need to come and you need to fulfill, and that you need to pour into? You need to submit this. Say, God, I've been tempted to do this. I want to submit this to you. Have control over my life. That's a part of that daily submitting to God. We take those thoughts captive. The thought, in essence, the thought is not a sin, but acting on that thought and giving into that thought is a sin. And allowing that thought that doesn't glorify God to stay and circulate in your mind, and cause new neural pathways and make your decisions different, that is a sin. We need to give our lives over to God and submit ourselves to Jesus Christ and His death and resurrection on the cross. But thank you for joining me in chapter 10 of 2 Corinthians. Live in a way that you're submitting to Christ at all times. Pray without ceasing. Take every thought captive and make it obedient to Jesus Christ because he died for those sins. So we take those evil, sinful thoughts that could turn into sin, and we make them submit under Jesus. Thank you for joining me in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.